Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is Left Guide for everyone's favorite combination, Nurburgring Nordschleife with the Suzuki Swift Sport. But on a serious note, I'll be fast forwarding through some parts just because you don't really need to do anything besides go full throttle. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this video started. Just as you pass the end of the pit wall that is on the right, go a little bit more to the right and give a quick, short burst of braking. That way, you can just go through this turn and slowly accelerate your way out. Quick tip, this car is a front wheel drive, so make sure you don't accelerate too much while you're turning, on sharper turns that is, so that way you won't end up understeering too much. Your next braking point is, well, here. You want to do some braking right here to get yourself through this first turn, and right after the first turn, you want to brake a bit more for the second turn, and slowly start to accelerate your way through. Go through this turn while lifting off the throttle, and then for this next turn you want to give a nice quick tap on the brakes. That way you can get through this turn nice and clean. And for the next turn up ahead, you'll be doing a similar thing, except you have a turn that happens right after. So before the tarmac changes from the light gray to the darker gray, you want to give another quick tap on the brake and then use a little bit of throttle to get through this first turn. And once you complete that turn, you can then fully accelerate through this next turn. Alright, speeding up the video a little bit up to here, because I just want to note that for this turn, you don't need to slow down at all. Just go at full throttle, but be very gentle with the turn. Try to follow the dark line, that way you won't lose too much speed. And let's speed up the clip again. Take this turn at full throttle, and as you go through this turn, you want to start to brake before the curb on the left ends. Do all your braking right here, so that way you can ease off the brake when you start to turn, slowly start to accelerate, and when your car starts to point towards the curb on the left, you can start to fully accelerate. Ease off on the throttle as you pass this sign that is on the right. If you want to be a little safer, you can do this before you pass the sign, so a little bit before I do it right here, because it gets a little risky as you get closer and closer to the sign. Then, shortly after that turn, you want to start to brake. Because you're going at such a high speed, you need to brake as soon as you can. As you see here, I almost lose it. Then, shortly after you pass the crosswalk, start to brake and slowly start to accelerate through this turn, but try to make sure your car is on the left side of the track. Staying in third gear, you can then fully accelerate your way through this turn. For this next turn, you can take most of it at full throttle, so ease off on the throttle for a little bit. But then for this turn, you want to start to brake a little bit after you pass the writing that is on the ground. Don't forget that this turn turns in a bit more, so you want to slowly accelerate your way through this turn. Then for this next turn, you want to start to brake a little bit after you pass the sign that is on the left. Just be nice and gentle with accelerating, and the car will take care of you. You can take this chicane at full throttle, but for the next turn, you want to give a quick tap on the brake before you start to pass the curb that is on the right. You can coast a bit through this part of the turn, but once you hit this apex on the second curb, you can then start to fully accelerate. You'll want to brake nice and early because you have this turn and then a bit of a hairpin immediately after. So brake right here, and as you go through this first turn, lift off the brake a little bit to give yourself some flexibility to turn and go back to going at full braking power. Gently accelerate your way through and you are good to go, and let's go ahead and go to the next turn. For this turn, you want to start to brake in between the end of the curb that is on the right and the path that is also on the right. you want to go full braking power for a bit, then ease off the braking, start to accelerate, and continue your way through. Then for this turn, you want to start to brake well before the curb on the left ends, but make sure to quick tap on the brake, then use a little bit of throttle and fully accelerate once you hit the apex. After you pass this Yokohama sign that is on the right, you want to start to brake. This turn goes in a bit more sharply, so you want to brake for a little bit more time, then bring yourself in, and as you pass the officials that's on the left, you can then fully accelerate. For this turn right here, be very gentle with the turning. You're already going uphill, and as you turn, you're losing speed, so be very gentle with the turning to reduce the loss of speed. Brake when you hit the quote apex of this curved curb here. Then, when you're going through the turn, you can start to fully accelerate when your car starts to point towards the curb on the other side of the track. For this turn, you want to start to brake just before the curbs on both sides end. Then, you want to go out about half throttle, maintaining speed, don't accelerate too much so you won't get out of the curb, and right at the end, you can then fully accelerate. Then fully accelerate through these turns here, and this one, and this one, and then give a quick tap on the brake as you start to turn right here. Then you can slowly start to accelerate your way through this turn. This first turn can be taken at full throttle, but for the next turn, ease off on the throttle, then do the same thing again for this next turn. And then here, you want to start to brake just before the curb on the left ends. You want to do very quick braking, and then you can get on the throttle quickly after. Then for this turn, once again, start to brake before you pass the Yokohama sign that is on the right. Slowly start to accelerate your way through, then go full throttle, and then start to brake before the curb on the right starts. Shift down to third gear, but be aware that the car might start sliding, so get ready to catch the car in case it does that. Go in fourth gear, then as you start to turn, you can start to brake just after the curb on the left ends, and you want to barely put any throttle into this turn. Shift down to third if needed, then continue on. For this next turn, you want to once again do some very quick braking, and be aware that this turn gets a little sharper, so you want to be a little more patient on when you start to use the accelerator. After the quote jump, do very quick braking right here before the curb on the left ends, and you don't need to brake too long as you'll slow down just enough, just in time to be able to get back on the throttle almost right away. Do some quick braking at full power before the curb on the right starts. Then slowly make your way through this turn, and then start to brake before the gray curb on the right ends. Then slowly accelerate your way through this turn. Well before the curb on the right ends, you want to start to brake, get yourself into the mini carousel, and once you're halfway through the turn, you can start to fully accelerate. And for these next turns, you can definitely go at full throttle. Once again, it's just a matter of trying to be very smooth to reduce any speed loss. Start to brake right here, and this should give you more than enough space to be able to maneuver through this turn and not be able to go off track. Slowly start to accelerate through this turn, try not to go off track, and when the color on the area on the left changes from gray to brownish, start to brake, slowly accelerate your way through this turn, try not to hit the wall on the right, and you are good to go. Thank you to those who stuck around. This is Mr. MCA, the world's most arcade player, and I'll see you in the next video.